Welcome back to an episode of Let's Build Twitter. We are currently on episode 118. As always, if you guys do want access to the private repository, there's a link down below in the description that explains exactly how to do that. And I'm trying to live stream every Tuesday and Thursday around 4 o'clock Central Time. So if you want to hang out while I work on the code, you can pop in and hang out and chat and do whatever. So let's hop into what we work on today. In this episode, we set up a new redux slice for keeping track of state data for the GIF selection modal. After configuring the slice, we create a new component to hold the GIF preview categories and create an async thunk to fetch the categories when the preview component is first loaded. As always, I'm Ethan Uncoder, and let's hop straight to development. Over the next several episodes, we're going to go ahead and get this GIF modal all set up. There's going to be some refactoring and some things we need to do, but my goal is to have this all done here, hopefully by, I don't know how long it's going to take. It's going to take a while. To start out, we need to go over to Google to set up our tenor. So I'm going to go into developers.google.com/tenor/guide/quick start. And what we need to do is we need to go ahead and go to the cloud console. So we're going to click on this. Let me go back. Actually, I'm going to control click on it. Okay, never mind. I'm going to put in unknown coder and everything I need to do. All right, I'm going to put in my password and I'm going to go ahead and get the code. All right, so now we're going to log in. We're going to have to go through all of this again probably, but I'm going to go ahead and go back into cloud console. And then we're going to select a project. So this will be Twitter. You guys should already have a project if you've been following along. Otherwise, you can click create new project. I'm going to click Twitter. I'm going to hit next. Already have a key. So this may or may not work. So it says you're ready to start, show key. We can go ahead and click show key. I'm obviously going to blur this out, but what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and I'm not going to copy this key. I'm actually going to get rid of this because I already have a key. But here you go ahead and copy the key, and we can also go into the API console, and then this should show us some more details. So again, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I blur all this out. But if I go back into my credentials, so if I go back to credentials, you'll see that we have tenor, and I guess it might have recreated the key. So that means my other one's going to probably break. But I can go ahead and click on show key once again. It shows my key. Again, I'm going to blur this out so you guys can't see it. But we have our API key. So I'm going to close out this and close out this, and we're good to go. And close out that, make sure that's all blurred. So now in my infinite wisdom, I decided not to use create react app or Vite for this. So things are a little bit funky and broken. So let's hop back into our code. The back on our front end, I need to go ahead and go into our utils, and I'm going to not utils. I'm just going to go into source, right click, new file. I'm going to call this config.ts. And then inside of config.ts, I'm going to say export const tenor key, export const tenor underscore key equal to, and then I'm going to paste in that key. Again, I'm going to blur this so you guys can't see this, and then I'm going to close out this. I'm going to go into our git ignore. So let me find the git ignore. I might have to open up this real quick. Give me a moment. All right, so now inside of here, okay, I guess I'll accept the current change, whatever. And here, I'm going to go up here by our front end, and I'm going to go ahead and say front end slash source, front end src. And we're going to say /config .ts and save. This could have been a JS file, doesn't matter, but we want to make sure that we ignore this, and hopefully that's ignored. Otherwise, I want to get rid of the key again. That's what we're going to need to do. Again, I'm going to have to blur all that out. And if you guys went ahead and set this up with Vite or create react app, then .env is going to work. You don't have to deal with all the stupid stuff that I dealt with. So keep that in mind. Let's go and clean some stuff up here. We'll have to go back into feed later on in pages and whatnot. But to make this all work nice and seamless, we're going to go into our slices, and we're going to make a new slice, and this is going to be called GIF slice. So I didn't want to have to make a slice, but doing passing state around and everything else wasn't going to work the way that I wanted to. So let's go ahead and import our payload action. We're going to import our create async thunk, and then we're going to import our create slice. And this is going to be from our React Redux. So let's go ahead and import it from React Redux. And then we're going to need a couple other things as well. And like I mentioned, there's going to be a lot of refactoring and things of that sort. What is your problem? This should be, nope, that's fine. Okay, I'm going to ignore those. Then I'm going to import our Axios from Axios. And I'm going to import our tenor key. So tenor underscore. And of course, it shows it. I'm going to have to blur that again. Interface. Oops. Let's go ahead and set up an interface for our states. Interface, GIF, slice, and then state. And this is going to have a search term of string. So search term string. This is going to have preview, which is Boolean. It's going to have next, which is a string. And it's going to have GIFs, which is a string array. So again, this will all make sense in a little bit. This is the simplest way it gets to work. Const initial state, and this will be a GIF slice state equal to search term will be empty. So search term empty string. Our preview will be true because we start out in the preview screen. Our next will be empty, and then our gifs will be empty as well. So gifs empty array, and then let's go ahead and export const gif slice is equal to, and this is going to be create slice, and then maybe they'll stop complaining. I don't know what the import's broken then. Whatever, I guess. So create slice. What is the problem? It's declared but it's never read. React Redux has no export. Oh, it's because it comes from @redux.js toolkit. Redux.js toolkit. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna have name of GIF here. So GIF, we're gonna have our initial state, and we're gonna have our reducers. So we're primarily gonna work reducers here. We are gonna have some async thunks, but we'll set those up later. So we're gonna update search term, in terms state, and action is a payload. Payload action, and this is gonna be type string. So this is gonna basically just update what's in the search box. So state is equal to, and we'll break apart our state. Search term will be equal to action.payload. All right, and then we'll return the state. Whoops, I love that. Next, we'll go ahead and update preview. So update preview, and this will be state, and action is a payload action, a boolean. So this will either say, hey, we're displaying the preview GIFs, or we're not. So state will equal to ... state, and then our preview will be action.payload, right? And then we'll return our state. What is your problem? Update preview, expected comma. Okay, fair enough. And then finally, we're gonna have a clear GIFs, and this is just gonna take in state, and all this is gonna say is state is equal to ... state, and then our GIFs are going to be an empty array because we're gonna need to basically clear them out and add new GIFs, and then return state. So this is gonna be whenever we actually search for different GIFs, we need to go ahead and clear that state out. And then finally, let's go ahead and export const, and we're gonna export update search terms. We're gonna update preview, and we're gonna export clear GIFs, and this is gonna be equal to GIF slice dot actions. And we're gonna export default, and this is gonna be GIF slice dot reducer. Okay, you guys know how it goes. We need to go ahead and put this inside of our store. So I forgot to do this, but inside of our store, we're gonna import our GIF slice, and then we're gonna go ahead and have a GIF is GIF. Actually, I must go ahead and call this GIF reducer. Reducer, and then this will be GIF reducer. Let's go ahead and set that up. I forgot to put that in my notes, but there is our Redux. We should be good to go there. Now, here comes the fun part. We have to clear out a bunch of stuff inside of like our search terms and stuff like that. And this is going to be really ticky-tacky. I'm not sure how this is going to edit up, but feed, we're going to go into our GIF modal top. So GIF modal top, TSX. All right, so we're going to go ahead and say const search term. So const search term is equal to use selector. Go ahead and import use selector, and this will be state root state, and then we'll go ahead and say state.gif, and then it's going to be search term. So we're going to bring in our search term. We're going to keep our input focused. We do not need an input value anymore. We still need an input ref. Of course, they're going to break some things. So handle focus will do the same thing. If input is not focused, we'll set focus to true. Handle blur is still going to do the same thing. So prevent default, const related target any. If related target will clear, and so on and so forth. So now instead of set input value, we're going to dispatch And I think we already have it set a dispatch, but we might not. And this is going to be update search terms. We're going to pass an e.target.value. We just need to import this update search terms, right? We're going to set that. And then whenever we clear input, we no longer need to go ahead and do this. We're going to dispatch. So dispatch, and this is going to update search terms again. We're going to update the search terms to an empty string. We're going to go ahead and also whenever we clear input, we're going to dispatch, and we're going to clear gifts. So whenever we search for a new thing or clear the input, we're going to clear the gifts out, and it's going to go back to preview. And then we also will set input focus true. I think I may be wrong, but I might need to go back through and dispatch the set preview to true. In this instance, I'm not 100% sure. So if we run into issues, we can deal with that later. Now, of course, we have issues with the input value and everything. So now inside of input value, let me go ahead and check here. So if not input focused, this would be search term.length. This will be search term.length plus 1. So search term.length plus 1. Placeholder value will be search term, and then here input value will be search term. And I think that's everything. Now keep in mind, we're gonna have to do a lot of different refactors and things, so I'm not really looking forward to all this. But so far, if we go back into our application here, and then let's go ahead and close out of the quick start. I don't need that currently. If we open this up, it should still work. Hello, it should still clear. Everything's working the way it should, so no problems there. Now let's go ahead and go into the GIF modal. So we're going to go into GIF modal. We're going to make some changes. So what's going to happen is we're going to bring in our state. So we're going to say const state is equal to use selector, and whoops, nope, that's fine. Use selector, enter state, and then root state, enter, and this is going to return state.gif. We're just going to bring in the GIF state. We're going to set up a dispatch. So const dispatch app dispatch. Go ahead and import that. Is equal to use dispatch. Maybe use dispatch. Okay, import that. Now we have to do a couple strange things here. So we're going to say use effect. We're going to set up 2 use effects here, which is something I didn't know you could do until recently. So this use effect is only going to run once. And let's go ahead and import use effect so it stops complaining real quick. So this use effect is just going to be for cleanup. So we're going to say return. We're going to return a callback function. And inside this callback function, we're going to dispatch update search terms. So dispatch, and then we're going to update search terms. And it's going to be an empty string. So this is going to make our lives easier. So whenever we close out of the modal, it's going to basically clear the terms. So just to show you what is going on here, since we're using Redux now, if we go ahead and get rid of that, and we go ahead and go in here and say like hello, and close out and open it back up, it still says hello. So what we want to happen is whenever we close out of that modal, we want that to go away. So if we save this now, and if we say hello, and we close out of the modal and we open the modal, it doesn't say hello anymore because we cleared all that content. And then we also want to set up another use effect. And this is going to basically update the content. So we're going to say if we have state.searchTerm, and we're going to go ahead and dispatch. We're going to dispatch update preview. Maybe preview to false. So if we have searched something, we don't want the preview anymore. What we want is to show the actual GIFs that we searched. Otherwise, what we want is to dispatch. And we want to dispatch update preview. So update preview, and this will be true. Basically, if we do not have any search terms, we're going to show the preview screen. If we do have search terms, we're not going to show the preview screen, and we're going to watch state.searchTerm like so. So that should be good to go. So now is when things are going to get a little bit more complicated, and I'm not sure we're going to break things up, but I'm just trying to record all of this stuff so that I'm good to go. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we can go into our, global interfaces. We're going to export an interface called tenor categories. So export interface tenor categories, and this is going to have an image string. This is going to have a name string. Whoops. string. It's going to have a path string, and it's going to have a search term string. So this is an interface that's going to correspond to the data that we get back whenever we search for just the different categories to show on the preview screen. And we're going to need this a little bit later on. So now we're going to go back into our slice. So slice is GIF slice, and we're going to update it to have a GIF category. So we're going to say GIF categories, and this will be a tenor categories array. And then we're also going to go have loading, which will be a Boolean, and we'll have an error, which is a Boolean. I don't know if we ever use error loading, but they're good to have. So our GIF categories will be an empty array. Our loading will be false to start. Whoops, false. And our error will be false. So basically what's going to happen is whenever we load the modal for the first time, we're going to populate these different categories that you can click on and show different GIFs. This is random. I know that Twitter does a set one, but we just do random. So now we're going to go ahead and set up the async thunk to actually fetch those different categories. So export const is going to be called fetch. Whoops. Maybe fetch, and then GIF categories. And this will be equal to create async. My fingers are all messed up. Thunk. And this is going to be GIF / category. And then we'll set up our async function, and it's going to take a payload and a thunk API. We don't actually use the payload here, so that's why we're not setting anything. So we're going to try. We're going to let the client key equal to footer. This could be whatever your application is called. And this is just something Google likes to have. And let URL equal to backticks. And this is going to be HTTPS // It's going to be tenor.google apis.com/v2/categories. And this is going to be question mark key equal to, and then we'll have our $ curly braces. It's going to be tenor key. Again, I'm going to have to go ahead and blur that, and client underscore key equal to $ client key. I wish Google in their infinite wisdom didn't just put it straight in here, because it made it really hard for me to debug problems. We're going to say let res equal to await axios.get, and we're going to call the URL. And then we're going to go ahead and say let data equal to an empty array. And what we're going to do is we're going to say for let I equal to 0, I is less than 8, and I++. So we're using a for loop here with a hard counter of 8 because we only want the first 8 categories. So we're going to say data.push, and we're going to push our res.data.tags I. So the data that we get back, maybe we can also go ahead and just console.log the data. Console.res.data. We're probably going to have to blur out the URL that it comes from, but I'll also show you guys what the data looks like. And then we're going to return the data. Whoops, return data. And from here, we'll also catch an exception E. And we'll go ahead and say return thunk API.reject with value, pass in E, and save. So we'll do this. I'll show you guys. We'll probably, for this episode, we'll try to get this call to show what the data looks like, and we'll move on from there. Now let's go ahead and set up our extra reducers. These will be very simple. So let's go ahead and go down here, extra reducers, and we'll say builder, whoops, builder, set up our function, and we'll say builder.add case. And this will be, so I don't think is pending actually works here, but I'm going to try it. So I'm going to try this thing, add matcher. I saw this online, and it's supposed to be basically for any pending, we should be able to say state in action. And I might have to move the other one. But basically we're going to say state is equal to ... And it's going to be state loading will be true, and then we're going to go ahead and return state. The thing is, I don't think I've ever seen it actually change state, so I don't know if this actually works or not. But it's interesting. Builder.add case, and this is going to be fetch GIF categories dot fulfilled. So this will take in our state, our action, and then we're going to go ahead and say state is equal to dot 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 state. We're going to go ahead and say loading is false. Also, let's go ahead and say error false here just to make our list a little bit easier. Loading is false, and GIF categories will be equal to action.payload. And then we'll return state, and then below this, we're going to say builder.add matcher. Whoops, builder.add matcher is rejected. Again, I don't know that this actually does anything, but maybe it does. State action, and this is going to go ahead and say state is equal to dot 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 state. Loading will be false again, but error be true. I don't know if this does anything. We might have to change this later, but it is what it is. So return those. That should be good. So now let's go ahead and just set it up to make the search. This episode's getting to a point where we're about to a wrapping up place. So let's go into our GIF modal. So now inside the use effect that reloads on each of the search terms, let's go ahead and say if our state.gif categories is .length is less than 1. So we haven't fetched the GIF categories yet. We're going to dispatch. We're going to dispatch our fetch, GIF categories like so. And again, this should really only happen once per component load, because after we actually once per entire time we open this, because after we load these, we're just going to go ahead and show the content. Let's go ahead and hop in. Hopefully there's no bugs. If there is a bug, we'll go ahead, and it's most likely this URL, and I can always copy paste the URL from the code on the side and it should work. Let's at least go ahead and take a look what this data looks like, that we have an idea. Unfortunately, I switched over to Brave, and Brave doesn't let me show redux, so I might work on figuring out how to do that, but for now let's hop into here. And that's not good. Let's see what's going on. Console, builder.add case. Okay, that's what I thought. So let's go back in here. I thought this was the case, and I must have just forgot to copy and paste this. So copy this, and we'll go ahead and add it there. I thought that was a bug, but I didn't remember. Builder should only be called before. Okay, so I guess I need to bring this up here. I can't read. Should be an easy bug to fix. Save that. There we go. That's much better. So if we click on this, our content didn't load, but I don't have an error. Let's double check. Let's see here. If state.gif.categories is less than 1, dispatch fetch GIF categories. And then let's go into our GIF slice. So let's see, state, return the state. That should have console.logged in here. Let's console.log though in here. Console.log. We'll say in the fetch GIF categories. Again, it'd be really nice if we had the redux thing set up. Let's refresh. And okay, there we go. I don't know why it didn't work last time. I guess just needed reloaded. But this is the data that we got, and it has a bunch of tags, and it has all these search terms. So it says like love, and then it has image, name, path, search term. So we can use the search term to go ahead and put it up here. And we just grabbed the first 8. If I wanted to, I could probably, I know that Twitch or Twitter uses like a set one, but if I wanted to, I could also do random through these 56, but basically we just grab the first 8 and we're good to go. So before I forget, let's go ahead and delete this res.console. And I think that's going to be it. We're at about like 20 some minutes there. So that's a pretty good length for this episode. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and then start recording the next episode. We'll start working on getting these GIF previews rendered inside the modal on the preview screen. Unfortunately, that's going to be it for today. If you guys enjoyed, please stick around for the next episode by hitting that subscribe button. You'll know exactly when it comes out, especially with that bell icon. If you did enjoy the content today, please sure to leave a thumbs up. If you did enjoy it, leave a thumbs down. Either way, it helps out with the algorithm all the same. And finally, if you have any suggestions or feedback for me, make sure you leave a comment down below. With that being said, I appreciate you all for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode. Peace out, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.